And when we think about my story, you know, the military did everything opposite, right? It saved my life in so many different ways. It provided opportunity in so many different ways. That when I started I even started to look at information online. I went to the VA website, started looking at, the different reasons and the amount of soldiers that have died in combat, the amount of soldiers that have been deployed to combat. The most important statistic that I think it's missing is the amount of lives like mine that the military saved. When I entered the military, I still remember, I don't know how many times I got called a knucklehead by my drill sergeants, right? But, those are the types of, things that you're thinking about as you're growing up, and, what the military was able to do for me at such a young age. My students are here from the high school, so I'm not going to share like any of the stories about me growing up, but what I can say is, minus the military, I was headed down the wrong path, and I was headed down that way fast. I think about a lot of the students that I work with now at the high school, and I don't know if this is a shocker or something that I should self-reflect on a little bit more, but with most behaviors that we see on the high school, it's still nothing compared to the challenges that I put myself through. It wasn't until I would join the military that I started to see, a purpose, started to identify some leadership qualities that I had that I didn't know existed. The leadership qualities that I exhibited in high school were much about taking people down the wrong path with me. And the military it made me wake up and think about a lot of things different. Now, it was interesting that I took some of these paths because, growing up, my dad is a 36-year veteran, first sergeant in the Army, drafted to Vietnam, 2 tours in Nam. My brothers, I have a brother who passed, not in combat, but he was an Army veteran. And I have another brother who was a Marine. My own son is in Africa right now. He's on his 2nd deployment with the Army. He's an infantry. Uncles. And so it's not like I can sit here and say that my life was doomed or I had every card against me. It was the path that I took, the choices that I made, that made my life a little bit of a struggle. So one of the things that I really want to point out, I think the military gets, a bad rap in some cases because of the organization it stands for, and it's just false in every aspect. You think about the amount of people that the military has helped, to not only abroad, but in our nation, but along with its soldiers itself, and that's we can't quantify that number. So I always think it's important that we come back to that and say, hey, here's what the military has really done. When you are in the military, you know that you're there to take some punches from people, but it does get exhausting after a while, and I hate to hear when people are, making any statements of ill will or whatever the case may be, because there's so much good to it. I wanted to share a couple of things that I don't really know if the military does a good job of sending it out there on how much we value this and how much good is actually happening. Of our soldiers, and a lot of these people are in my shoes. My story's so common when you look at the soldiers in our military and some of the challenges that they put themselves through. Of the entire body of our soldiers, about 60% get some sort of assistance to go to college. About 60% use the GI Bill and other factors that we have in place to be able to go to college. Now, the most important fact of the 60% that's actually used to go to college, 56% of the 60% of the soldiers that go to college are first-generation college students. There's no other department in the world, there's no other organization in the world that can say that they have been able to achieve 56% of their population as first-generation college students. And that kind of rang a bell to me because I am a first-generation college student. Working with some of our students that are even here in the audience today, they are going to be first-generation college students. And that's what we're trying to shift. We all talk a good game when it comes to equity and what we're doing to close the achievement gap. The military has been so far ahead of us for a number of years. And we really need to think about what the military is doing and how we can follow their guidance in every organization and the structure that they've developed so that we can better ourselves. And again, I want to share that number just because it's so important, but 56% of the students that attend college through the military are first-generation college students. And that's what we're trying to tackle here in Chelsea. Those are the changes we're trying to change in Chelsea. And that's really how we bridge the equity gap and make a difference with our minority populations, people like myself as a Mexican American, we black and brown throughout our country. We take advantage of the military in so many different ways that we also need to fight to make sure that there's not a high school out there that doesn't allow or has a judgment of when our military is on campus. It's important and it's critical that many of our students are given the opportunity to make a choice on what they're going to do in the future. Without that, I wouldn't have been here. With that being said, I want to share too, just put it in numbers so that we get an idea of what it is. But over $200 billion was actually spent on the GI Bill and benefits for soldiers last year alone. And that's over $200 billion. So that's the amount of people that are getting assistance with education, the amount of people that are getting assistance with home loans, and all these other things that we have available. And that's the kind of money too that the veterans, that our military is putting back into our people to be successful. So again, the positive that comes from the people that have passed, from the people that have died in combat, to be able to give us these rights and these opportunities to go to college, to better ourselves. That's what we need to also remember on days like this. That's what we need to cherish, the fact that these people did pass for our protection and for our rights. Those are the qualities that are unspoken. Those are the qualities that we don't value enough of our soldiers, of our fallen. And I want to remind, anytime you guys get an opportunity, think about the benefits and think about how we've been given the opportunity to speak our mind, to head to pathways that we never thought were possible, and to be successful for who we are. If I look back, I graduated in 1994, and I'll share one story without the details. In my yearbook, I was voted most likely to be on America's Most Wanted. Here I am today, the guest speaker for Memorial Day, an assistant superintendent, acting principal with these fine young men and women to my right, and who would have thought, 20 some years later, here's where I would be. So every day to me is a blessing, and every day I need to remember myself too, to thank the military, thank my fellow soldiers, thank the people that I know that have died in combat, and then my dad, my brother, my son, and everybody else that served in the military and my family. I would like to leave a quote from General George Patton, and I think this is important too, because we all want to be able to voice our opinion. We all want to be able to have the rights of freedom, but we don't thank the people that actually gave us these rights, and we don't share how much we appreciate to them. And I also want to point this out as well too, in the military, the most beautiful thing about us serving as well too is it's not about party when it comes to us. Political aspirations mean nothing to us when we are in the military. We fight for the Constitution, we fight for freedom. Bottom line, it's not about our opinion. George Patton did say, "It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom to demonstrate. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given up the right to a fair trial. That is a soldier who has duties to the flag, who serves under a flag, and whose coffin will be draped by the flag, sorry. No good decision was ever made in a Swiss chair." The freedoms we have to protest our government, we earned them through the military. The freedoms we have for somebody to take a knee on a football field, we earned that right through the military. It's not about casting judgment about how they're demonstrating their rights and how they're demonstrating their freedom. It's about remembering that that's the most beautiful thing about our nation, is the ability to challenge our government, the ability to speak freely on how we believe, and the ability to have a freedom that no other nation can duplicate. So I do thank you guys for having me here today. It's been an honor, and I'd like to leave you with that quote. Have a good day. Thank you.